So she believes in 10 curative factors, okay? And these are the 10 things that Jean Watson says you must do, you must consider in order to provide nursing care. We don't walk in and do vital signs and do assessment. We walk in and we do the 10 curative factors with our patient. This is what Jean Watson says. So she says we look at the formation of human altruistic system of values, meaning what people believe to be true, their religion, their beliefs, and like the idea of when we looked at our values and I said that I value honesty, right? This would be my human altruistic sense of values, what I deeply believe to be true. She believes that we need to look at the installation of faith and hope, so that patients need to have faith that they will get better. They need to have faith in the healthcare system, that we are doing what we need and helping patients through difficult situations. Patients need to have hope or they will not get better, according to Jean Watson. If patients think that they're going to die, then they will die. If they believe that there is the opportunity for them to get better, then they will get better. And we need to help patients to have hope. She believes that we need to cultivate sensitivity to self and others, meaning we need to be aware that different people are experiencing different challenges at different times. And I need to be aware of the fact that when I walk into a room, everybody is unique with unique challenges. So, for example, today, before we came and met together at 8 o'clock, some of you, maybe you woke up late. Some of you didn't sleep good last night. Some of you ate breakfast and some of you didn't. Some of you were stressed driving here. Some of you were fine. Some of you are constipated. Some of you maybe are having a headache. Some of you, like different problems, right? Each person is different, right? And I have to be aware that each person is different, right? As a nurse. So when I walk into a room, I can't assume that everybody is the same. I can't assume that my patients are the same. I need to be aware that everybody has their own unique challenges. Nurses need to develop a helping trust relationship. So our patients need to trust us, and we need to help them to trust us. And we need to do activities that allow our patients to trust us. So whatever I say I'm going to do, I'm going to follow through with these actions. If I say I'm going to bring my patient a drink of water, then I bring them a drink of water. This develops the trust between the nurse and the patient, right? So this is very important to Watson. She says that we need to allow patients to express both positive and negative feelings. So patients should be able to say, I'm sad, I'm hurt, I don't feel well, I really didn't like that last nurse who was caring for me. She was mean to me, right? Patients should be able to say things like that. They should also be able to say things like, thank you, I really appreciate your care. I'm feeling much better because of the medication you gave me. You're very kind to me. They should be able to express not just positives, but also negatives in healthcare. And they should have the right to do that. So, one of the things that Watson firmly believes is that this should happen in the moment, but she also really advocates for patient response surveys after they leave healthcare institutions so that we can collect more feedback about patient experiences for quality control. So this is an important thing that she points out. She says that we do need to use the scientific method for making our decisions. So she does focus a little bit on science and say that, well, when we take a patient's blood pressure and they're hypertensive, we need to do certain things that are evidence scientific based to deal with their hypertension. So if a patient is having a hypertensive crisis, we should do the protocol for a hypertensive crisis, A, B, C, and D, right? So she does use the scientific method and talk about the importance of science within her model, though it's certainly not the focus of her model at all. She talks about having interpersonal teaching and learning. So she says actually that with a patient, when you enter into a caring moment or an activity with a patient, that together you are learning and teaching from each other. So the nurse, yes, is providing specific teaching to the patient about side effects of a medication, but the patient is also teaching the nurse about the way they feel about their medication and the way that they respond to having the medication. So that this relationship of learning is going two-sided. So from the nurse teaching directly, but also the patient helping the nurse to understand their own healthcare challenges and issues. She talks about providing protective, corrective, mental, physical, sociocultural, and spiritual environment. So this idea is talking about we need to consider all the different aspects of a person's life and try to make the environment the best environment possible for the patient. So kind of like the way that Nightingale thought about things, but Nightingale was specifically focused on like cleaning and opening windows and things like that. For Jean Watson, it's more about what you like in the environment. So the opposite of Nightingale in some regards. So Florence Nightingale said you should open the windows to have good ventilation, right? Jean Watson wouldn't say you need to open the windows necessarily. She would say, if that's important to you, I will open the windows. But if it's important for you to have candles and incense burning or oud burning at your bedside, then you can do that. So she would say, whatever makes you comfortable as a patient is the way the environment should be. Regardless, not irregardless of health risks associated with it, try to keep things as good as possible for a health environment. But there are certain cultural practices that may make a patient feel better that maybe are not normal within healthcare. So we need to support them to be able to do these practices, whatever they are, as long as they're not harming them excessively, right? So we need to consider these things. Does that kind of make sense about the spiritual and understanding that? We need to assist patients with the gratification of human needs. So this is really talking about meeting the needs of our patient. So the gratification of human needs to Jean Watson is things like providing hygiene, so bathing your patients or providing washcloths if they need to have a bath, towels if they need to have a bath, giving them food when they're hungry, right? That's a human need to have food. Human need to have their medication on time and to have their medication. Meeting all of these kind of needs that we need for basic life within healthcare. And then the last one is for the allowance of existential or phenomenological forces. So this means God, essentially. So Jean Watson was like a hippie. She is like a hippie. And she doesn't necessarily believe in a single higher power, like a God per se. So the way that she phrases it really is existential and phenomenological things. So she really believes that you need to allow God or Mother Nature or whatever spirits you believe in to do healing on patients. Not that they will do it every time, not like Florence Nightingale that says you must make the environment good so God can heal patients. She says sometimes miracles happen and we don't know why. That's what Jean Watson says. We know that there's something beyond us, but we can't define it. And so she says that you have to allow this to happen in healthcare. We have to be aware that sometimes there's no reason why a patient gets better. We have no understanding physiologically why this happens. So it must be some force outside of ourselves that is allowing this to happen.